Meet me in the middle.
Hello and welcome to Meet Me in the Middle. I am Kirsten Cole. I'm your host. We like to talk about all things in midlife because we know that our best years aren't behind us. They are in front of us and we are building them. From money, relationships, health. These are all the areas that we like to get into in this time here on this podcast. So thank you so much for being here. And remember, I want to hear from you and what you want to hear from us on this end. So drop a comment down in the bottom so that I know that I'm taking care of exactly what you want to talk about. Hey, Ted Rossman is joining us today from Bankrate, 15 years at Bankrate. You literally have your finger on the pulse of everything that is happening money-wise. It's so important to have financial check-ins, and that's why we're having one with you today, Ted. Thank you for being here.
Well, this will be fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it's the beginning of the year. It's the time when we can sort of, start afresh, and we're not necessarily going to kick the can down the road and say, forget about it. It's also a time when we're starting to think about and prepare for our taxes. So a lot of what was happening last year, we're kind of having to deal with right now in this moment. So it's good to be here with you.
It's good timing. Yeah, thank you.
And I said I wanted to kick this off with, let's make Ted our wish maker. If you could grant a wish for all of us that would make us so much fiscally healthier, what would that wish be?
Well, one thing that comes to the top of the list is credit card debt and managing that more effectively.
Can I just cover my eyes so that I can do that on behalf of myself and everybody else?
I know it's not the most fun thing to talk about,
Right.
but we need to. We actually did a study. We found most people would rather talk about their weight, their political views, their religious views. They'd rather talk about almost anything else than credit card debt. The reason it's important is the average credit card charges almost 20%.
Right.
And that's close to a record high. And we just need to get a better handle on this. There's been a lot of talk recently in Washington about capping credit card rates. Now, I don't want people to be in credit card debt. I actually think the cap could have unintended consequences of preventing access to credit, but not to get down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Things you can do now.
Okay.
Lower your rate to zero by either paying in full. I know that's easier said than done, but half
Right.
of cardholders do that. And those half are in a great position to earn cash back and travel rewards.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the half with debt, first of all, no shame. You have plenty of company. The average credit card debt load's around $6,500.
Uh-huh.
What you should do is move that to a card with a 0% promotion. These are widely available.
They are?
A lot of people don't realize this, but there are plenty of credit cards that'll give you 18 months, 21 months, 24 months, interest-free.
How do I find these magical unicorn credit cards?
We have a list at Bankrate. I could tell you some,
Love
like
you for that.
the U.S. Bank Shield Visa, 24 months, interest-free. Wells Fargo Reflect and Citi Simplicity are at 21.
And I can just cold call them and be like, yo. Or I could probably get onto the interwebs and apply right there.
You can apply online or over the phone. They're generally looking for good to excellent credit. But the good news is most people have that. So the average credit score is about 715.
Right.
They're generally looking for 670 and above, something like that. So most people are in the ballpark. The reason this is so impactful is if you get 24 months interest-free, you could split that average credit card balance, that $6,500, into 24 installments of less than $300. And you pay that every month. You're debt-free by the end. That feels a lot more attainable.
That little snack made it much more attainable for me. This also gets into monthly payments. And we need to talk about buy now, pay later. We did a lot of that over Christmas, a record amount of it.
Mm-hmm.
If we did that, what should we be doing to make sure that we're staying on top of our business? And what should we do going forward?
Buy now, pay later is kind of a cousin to credit card debt. Some people think that it's more responsible because you know exactly how much you owe for exactly how long.
Right.
Sometimes it's interest-free. It's 4 interest-free payments over 6 weeks. Although a lot of buy now, pay later plans now are lasting longer. And it's 6 months, 12 months. A lot of those do have an interest rate.
And then what happens if I get a little sideways? Whoopsie, and I wasn't able to come up with the money because something else happened in my life.
Sometimes they charge late fees. Sometimes it can hurt your credit. More than anything, though, people want to stay on track because they want to keep using these. And that's actually been a surprisingly effective carrot. So it's not so much the stick of the punishment for the late payment and the fee and the credit damage.
Okay.
A lot of times it's more, hey, if you want to keep using this, you've got to stay in our good graces.
Right.
It's like the old infomercial thing, right? It's like 4 easy payments of $49.99.
Well, or I used to go to like a department store, and if I wanted something really fancy and important to me, I would put it on layaway. Okay, kids, if you're watching this, you're obviously a little bit too young if you can't remember what layaway is. But you would literally go to the counter, and then every week you would come by and you would drop off a little bit of money, and then you'd be able to get your thing at the end.
Yeah, this is kind of like reverse layaway. The difference is you get the item up front now and you
Right.
pay for it over time. That's something to watch out for, is that if you fixate only on the installments, you're missing that total cost of ownership. So that's the trick that these providers play, is that, oh, I'm not spending $200, right? I'm just spending $50 4 times. Well, it's the same thing, but you just need to be
Just
mindful of
feels
that.
different.
And the biweekly payments are pretty common. A lot of times we get used to paying things once a month. So you just have to remember to stay on top of it. You can do auto debit from your checking account or
Yes.
debit card, but you got to make sure there's money in the account and you know when it's hitting. And that's some of the downside. The pro is affordability, spread out your cash flow. Some people love this. The downside is you might spend more than you realized.
Right. I also want to talk about buying a car because it has gotten really expensive of late. People that are coming up on the ends of their leases or their car is sort of hitting the end of its life. Where should our mindset be when it comes to buying a car right now?
It's a really challenging time because the average new car price is around a record, roughly $50,000. The average monthly new car payment is $750 a month. Insurance costs are at record highs. They're up more than 50% the last 5 years. Repairs, maintenance, all this is really expensive. So what do? One thing is, if you can delay that purchase, even a year, like if you can get one more year out of your current car, that's a year that you're not paying $750 a month for
Right.
that car. That can be the down payment, that can fund other goals. The more you can prepare in advance. When it does come time to buy, shop for financing in advance. So don't just be beholden to the dealer.
Ah.
Go to a bank or credit union ahead of time, maybe an online lender, get a few quotes, secure that financing up front, and consider used cars. I know their prices have gone up as
They
well.
sure have.
But cars are lasting longer than ever. I mean, a lot of people are getting 10 plus years out of their cars. The longer you can get off of that treadmill of monthly payments, the better. Don't fall into the long-term financing trap. We're seeing more people financing for 7, 8, sometimes even 10 years. That's a lot of
Ooh.
time in debt. I would say
Right.
try to finance no more than 5
I
years.
hadn't even seen these 8 and 10-year car loans, but that's the answer when the product is getting so expensive.
It's a trap. It's kind of like buy now, pay later, where it does drive down the monthly payment, but it's a lot more time in debt. It's a lot more interest in the long run. You're underwater for longer. So if you have to trade in the first few years because of an accident or your lifestyle changes, it's just hard to be underwater. It's not like a home. A car is losing value over time. So
A home is
it brings
appreciating,
us
right.
value in terms of like getting us where we need to go, but you don't want to overextend. So try to finance for no more than 5 years.
Okay. All right. Good advice. So we covered a few of the basics of Ted's wish list for the new year. Coming up, we are going to talk about a thing called financial infidelity. People are doing it. It's a bad thing for your relationship overall. We want to talk about how to work your way through that and also come up with a really positive and empowering game plan for your best 2026 yet when we come back on the other side of Meet Me in the Middle.
You're watching Meet Me in the Middle.
Welcome back to Meet Me in the Middle. We are talking about all things finances because here on Meet Me in the Middle, we take a look at midlife. We know that we are building our best years ahead of us, but in order to do that well, we need to look at our money, we need to look at our health, and we need to look at our well-being. And these things are really all kind of wrapped up, right, Ted? You're like, yeah, I'm a money guy, but really you're talking about everything when you're, weaving it all together into this space. Because if your money is sideways, your life is generally sideways, and that's a lot of stress on people. So we are in an affordability crisis right now, right? Give me some of the basics of how it is that we are here with like interest rates, with housing costs, with lack of housing affordability.
Well, a lot of it's the cumulative effect.
Mm.
Prices haven't changed a ton this past year. They have changed a lot over the past 5 years.
So the drip, drip, drip.
And that's what's hitting people. So you go back 5 years and the average price of everything has gone up 25%. That's really significant. A grocery bill that used to be $100 is now $125. I mean, just all up and down the line, cars, homes, food, everything. And it's that cumulative effect that's hitting people because, we may hear the Federal Reserve Chairman and other policymakers say, oh, inflation's come down. And then you ask the average person and they're like, well, no, it hasn't. That it's two different things. I mean, the rate of change has slowed, but prices are still growing. They're just growing more slowly. And unfortunately, we're not going back to where things cost in 2019. It's a very difficult situation for a lot of people, especially those with lower incomes and lower credit scores. It's just really stacked up on us. Higher costs, higher interest rates, et cetera.
And our salaries growing at the same rate as inflation.
For a lot of people, it's been lagging too. Like the past couple of years, on average, wage growth has outpaced inflation a little bit, but we haven't totally caught up to a lot of the craziness that happened in 2021, 22, when prices were rising, for a time, it was close to 10% a year.
Right.
Like that was just a really big shock. And a lot of people are still working their way out of that and they've depleted savings, they've taken on debt. It really is one of the biggest challenges facing a lot of households now.
And especially because the cost of housing has gone up so much, whether it's constructing a new home or trying to find an affordable apartment to rent or buying any durable goods, a car, major appliances. These are all, big ticket items. And as you pointed out, the prices are not going down. So, all right, now that we're all Debbie Doom and Gloom, let's talk about what we can do about it. Talk about where we should be focusing to make ourselves most financially healthy. You talked about definitely eating away at your credit card debt, and you named the credit cards where you can find low or no interest so that you can hopefully get a little bit more money kicking through your monthly budget. What would you like to see us do? Do you want to see us invest in our 401k, in our children's 529 so they can go to college and be, good earning citizens and future earners down the road? Do you want us to salt a little bit more money away into our mortgages so that we maybe pay off our home quicker? What do you think?
In some respects, the right answer is a little bit of everything, but I know that it's hard to spread your money out that much. I would focus on a few of the basics for starters. Like savings and debt are sort of two sides of the same coin. So we talk about the importance of emergency savings the next time the fridge breaks or the car is on the fritz or you get an unexpected medical bill. You need to have savings. Now, I know experts say, oh, you got to have 6 months expenses in the bank. Yes, we would love that, but that's a goal. It's going to take time to get there. Even that first $500, that first $1,000, that's a buffer against high cost credit card debt. Because if you don't have savings, then you put it on the credit card and you're paying 20 or 25% and it's hard to climb out of that. So those are a couple starting points. Have money transferred from every paycheck into a dedicated savings account. Try to chip away at your credit card debt, maybe with one of those 0% promos we talked about. It is important to invest as well. I mean, at least up to the company match, I would say. That's free money on your 401k. So at least that first 3 or 4 or 5%, whatever your employer's going to match, starting young.
You don't want to leave money on the table.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to leave that money out there. There are so many things you can do, but a lot of personal finance doesn't need to be overly complicated. It's kind of like
it feels that way. A lot of times it's kind of overwhelming when we think, okay, I need to have the money talk with myself.
It can be, but I would try to coach people on make a few small decisions right, and then just replicate that over time. So contributing to the 401k, that automatically hits every payday. Try to replicate that for more liquid, short-term emergency savings.
One of the things that I did is I don't get any compensation for this. I use the Rocket Money app and I set up a savings goal for myself. And it does this thing where it swipes money from my account every now and again, and it salts it away. And then when I hit my goal, boom, it sends it off to me and I'm able to pay for something.
That's great. Yeah, naming accounts can be very effective. So if you want to take a great vacation next year or buy a house or whatever it is, put a label on it. Have a separate savings account. You're less likely to raid that account if you know what it's there for.
If it's the Hawaiian vacation account, you're like, ooh, let's leave that intact.
Exactly. And that comes back to budgeting. I know budgeting is sort of a dirty word to some people, but we want to be pulling in the direction of working towards something. So it's not a budget just for the sake of denying yourself, right? And saying, no, we can't have this, we can't have that.
Right.
It's like, what are you trying to work towards? I know money's tight for a lot of people. There are some silver linings too. I mean, not to be all downbeat on this. Like
Right.
the job market's still pretty good. It's not as good as it was a year or two ago, but it's still pretty good. Stocks have been hitting record highs. The home market, if you are an existing owner, you're probably sitting on record equity and hopefully you locked in a low rate a few years ago. Some of this accentuates that K-shaped economy. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. I mean, we do want to be mindful of that. In general, the economy is doing pretty well. It just doesn't feel great to a lot of people.
Correct.
Because of the aforementioned cost of living challenges.
Correct. And if we are having to make a choice between a 401k or a 529, and when you go into life and you have kids and of course you want the best for them, where should we really be focusing and why?
If I had to pick one, I would say the retirement plan, because
Yeah.
as the joke goes, like there's no loan for retirement. Like you can get loans for college and you can
Right.
actually get some pretty good low rate subsidized loans from the government for college. I mean, student loans are a big problem, and the people that have six figures of student debt, I mean, I don't want to minimize that issue.
Correct.
But there are other, there's grants, there's scholarships, there's work study, there's federal student loans. Retirement is a tricky one. Like you've got to prepare for that. I know there's Social Security, but you need to supplement that. And having your own
and I were
savings.
even talking about Social Security is going to have a moment really soon. We know that there are challenges ahead for this system.
Yeah, so you got to take matters into your own
Right.
hands, and saving money now can really pay off in the future. And just getting those gains. I mean, historically, the stock market has gained 10% a year. There's no guarantees, but over the long haul, over 5, 10,
Correct.
20-year periods, the stock market has been a great wealth creator. So starting with that, maybe periodically bumping it up. I know, again, easier said than done, right? But you're less likely to miss what you don't see. So maybe every year, every 6 months, you bump up your
Just a little
percentage.
bit more. Just a little bit more.
It helps. It's
Yeah.
like slow and steady
Sure.
wins the
It
race.
sure does. All right. All good advice. I'm glad that we dug into the eternal question of take care of the retirement, take care of the kids' accounts. So much to deal with. Now, in our last segment, we are going to talk about this thing called financial infidelity and having the really tough money talks, not only with yourself, but with your significant other. And I have a confession of my own to make in this space. So you want to be on the other side of this break when we come back at Meet Me in the Middle.
You're watching Meet Me in the Middle.
Welcome back to Meet Me in the Middle. I'm Kirsten Cole. I'm your host. And when we like to talk about all the things on how we're going to make ourselves better going forward and how we're going to maximize our lives, money always comes into it, right? We need to have a good money life in order to have a good life. So here we go. We're diving in. We're talking about financial infidelity. And I have a confession to make. My husband, Rocco, we had been married previously. We each came into the relationship with things, a lot of baggage, right? But we also came in with our own money. When we came together, we did not combine our funds, and we didn't talk a lot about how we wanted to spend our money, what our money mantra was. And for a very long time, we did not, I still to this day, I don't know his exact salary. Is that crazy? Like, I didn't confess my salary to him until years after we were married. We sort of each divvied up the bills the way we kind of wanted to, and we made it work. And I did that sort of out of respect for him because I knew that he doesn't want to talk that intimately about that space. Are we weird? Are we unusual?
Whatever works for you. I
Yeah.
really do think this is an individual decision. In general, I think communication is great, but you need to know yourself. A lot of people don't want to talk about these things.
It was hard for him. It still is hard for him. And so we try, and I try to have tiny little bite-sized conversations about it.
That's a good way to approach it because people don't want to have these long drawn out money conversations. So even if you start with like 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, it should get easier over time. I would note a few stats from our recent study.
Yes.
We found that 43% of US adults believe that financial cheating is at least as bad as physical cheating, which is pretty extraordinary.
What is financial cheating?
Secret debt, secret savings, secret spending. So it does really
So
hurt.
like if I had $300,000 in a safe that I wasn't fessing up about?
And in some respects,
I
that's a
don't.
great problem to have.
I so don't have that, but
The secret
anyway.
debt and the secret spending are even worse. But, it is important to communicate about this.
Right.
We found that 45% of people who are married or otherwise living with a romantic partner say they don't know everything about their spouse's finances.
That was totally me and Rocco. Yeah.
I would think the number maybe is even higher. Like that's the number
Some
that
people don't
fesses
wanna
up
fess
to
up.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the reason we should talk about money is it's hard enough to meet your financial goals when you're working together. It's even harder if someone is squirreling money away or spending in secret. I would again revisit this concept of what are you working towards? Like, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to help your kids go to college? Do you want to pay off debt or have a really great vacation? That's a good way to frame the discussion.
That is lovely. It's more about aspirationally. What do we want to achieve as a couple?
That's right. And also this whole yours, mine, and ours thing is increasingly common. So you don't
Right.
have to combine everything. That in some respects has become a more dated way of doing things. Not to disparage those who do that. I mean,
Right.
some people, you want to combine everything, great.
It would be easier.
But that's becoming less and less common with each passing year. We're seeing a lot of, especially people in their 20s and 30s. I mean, people are getting married later. They have their own salary. They have their own financial baggage. I mean, student loans. It's really important to figure out what works for you. But for a lot of people, the right answer is a little separation. I don't like the secrets, but if you agree that, hey, you each have a certain amount every month or every paycheck that's yours and yours alone, that can actually be healthy because then you pursue your own hobbies and gifts and interests and you don't feel like the other person's always looking over your shoulder.
I was really happy that my husband had no idea how much I was spending on tennis because sometimes it is a ridiculous amount. And then I think he's very happy that I don't know how much he spends on, he loves to restore old cars. So he's, ordering all these parts and then, occasionally he pays somebody to do something and he doesn't need me over dinner asking him, what was that $217 for, mister? There is some, it's nice to just agree to not know.
I agree with that, but I'm sure that you also have the other boxes checked in terms of like, the monthly housing payment, the monthly car, groceries, as
Right.
long as you have the basics covered.
Right.
That's where for a lot of people, maybe you have a joint account for those joint expenses.
Right.
And then you also have some independence that you can pursue your own hobbies and do your
Right.
own thing and not have the other person looking at everything. Or maybe it's a dollar amount. Maybe you can spend up to $50 or up to $100, no questions asked. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but every couple needs to figure out where to draw the line. But it is important to have that conversation, agree on those parameters up front.
A little transparency would go a long way, but I do like the fact that you framed it in a way of having these aspirational things. So it's what are our joint goals and then how are we going to get there?
That's where I think that it does make sense to have some joint skin in the game because
Right.
you are intertwined. Like for better or for worse, people have a lot of joint bills. So the fact that you can have a little independence on the side can be healthy, but you also need to figure out how to tackle the big stuff.
Indeed. These have been such healthy discussions. I love the reset. We need to bring you back to talk about tax strategies because that's knocking on the door in half a hot second with the April 15th deadline. But as long as our financial house is in order, we're going to feel healthier, more settled. We're going to feel calmer and more empowered. And hopefully you're going to be looking towards the future and building that better version of yourself. This is your space. This is where we meet in the middle. Drop the comments below so I know exactly what you want to talk about so that we can do that to keep building the best version of you. I'm Kirsten Cole, your host, and I can't wait until we meet again in the middle.